Well, let's talk campaign 2020.
Campaign 2020.
And we notice with some interest that after the PNM's 41 and the UNC's 39, the next party to field the most candidates in the 2020 election is the People's Empowerment Party,
PEP,
led by Mr. Phillip Alexander. And we do have Mr. Alexander on the line. Good morning to you, sir.
Morning to you, Mr. Alexander.
Good morning, gentlemen, from the Progressive Empowerment Party.
Progressive, my mistake. I'm sorry about that. The Progressive Empowerment Party.
In the media, was saying our name as enough as they should have. You would have known it by heart.
I think you're right.
When we look at the data, Mr. Alexander, you are the third party with the highest number of candidates offering themselves to the electorate. It takes a lot of money to do it. How were you able to get that cash to offer to the candidacy 28 people, the electorate, 28 candidates?
Well, we wanted to prove that you could do it without drug trafficking money. We wanted to prove that you could do it without contractor kickback money, and we proved it. Candidate by candidate, fundraiser by fundraiser, barrel sale by barrel sale, barbecue by barbecue, donation by donation. We've done it. So we're proving to Trinidad and Tobago that you do not have to vote parties into office funded by deep pocket corrupt financiers.
So that the capacity to fund the 28 candidate came from small-time events, if I can say that.
Internally, event by event, dollar by dollar.
Now, certainly, money is one thing, but you must have had wide interest in the party and what the party is offering to get 28 people to say, yes, I want to. How did that process go?
Actually, we had, when we started our screening process a little over a year ago, when we totaled up who we were considering our candidate list, we had about 63 candidates, from which to get 41. We made the decision to not contest Tobago, especially when COVID-19 shut down our ability to move freely between Trinidad and Tobago, because we were still in the expanding into Tobago mode. We had to convince our Tobago team that we are going to work with somebody who is already on the ground, and the obvious choice was Watson Duke, so we endorsed Watson Duke, and we said we would be aiming for 39. Of that 39, we lost a good few, due to this silly dual citizenship law that prevents people who have dual citizenship from contesting elections. So we came down to 32, and pretty much on nomination day, the day before nomination day, one of our candidates, his wife passed away and he was forced to withdraw. Two candidates did not get through with their paperwork for some reason or the other, and one who is still stuck outside of Trinidad and Tobago is the subject of an appeal with the EBC, because the Minister of National Security gave her exemption on nomination day. So she did not get the 21 days that she's entitled to by law. She got about 6 hours to try and get herself nominated, and they weren't able to pull that off. So we are appealing it to the Elections and Boundaries Commission, and we hope we are as successful as the PNM was with the extra hour for the rain.
So I suppose it could be 29, depending on how this thing works out.
It could be 29, but while we are, we're literally burning daylight. While we're waiting, she's losing opportunities to campaign, and they're doing work on the ground, but you would understand there is a cost to campaigning as well. And so we're pretty much playing it by ear. We thought we would have had an update yesterday. The deputy chair of the Progressive Empowerment Party, Sean Sunarine, is back at the EBC today, and we are waiting on an update.
I noted, Mr. Alexander, that you said just a minute ago that you have endorsed Mr. Duke in Tobago. Have you done the same to any other parties where you all are not contesting in Trinidad specific?
Yes, we have endorsed Errol Fabian in St. Joseph. And because I worked with Errol in the last election, we were both independents together. We were two of three independents that worked, that shared synergies last election. I know him well. I knew him a long time. I think Errol is a good guy and would do a good job for St. Joseph. We also are endorsing Steve Alvarez, another person that I and we know for a long time. Steve has been out there advocating for a better Trinidad and Tobago. He has good ideas. He has a good heart, and I think he has a heart for people. He is in Moruga Tableland. That's the one seat his party, the DPTT, is contesting, and we're endorsing him as well.
At any time, did you seek to be party to a coalition, or have you always taken a position to run alone and endorse other entities?
Well, it comes down to common ideology, and I've been saying this for the entirety of the conversation, that it's not just about marriage of convenience. It's not about ganging up to get office. You have to agree. If you don't agree, if fundamentally you do not agree on how things should be done, then joining forces just to get office, it makes no sense, because like what happened with the partnership, like what happened with the National Alliance for Reconstruction, when the glitter fades on the having achieved office and the work has to be done, those who do not agree on the way forward will cause conflict and problems that will end with the coalition falling apart, as it did in 1988, as it did in pretty much 2012 for the People's Partnership.
So again, you did not entertain being a part of a formal coalition. You were just endorsing entities.
We were invited. They've many different people within an organization that I think finally tried to call itself Better United. Many different people from within that party, from within that grouping, tried to organize that grouping. And the idea behind organizing that grouping was to get all of the other parties that are not PNM and UNC. And we resisted that. But every single person there called and kept calling, and I attended a meeting. I went to one of the meetings. Basdeo Pandey was there, Karen Tipasad was there, Louis Lee Singh was there, and I said the same thing there, that you cannot just slam everybody into the same space and call it a movement if you're not really a movement, if you're not moving in the same direction. And so said, so done. Within the next 2 weeks, the NNG was screening for the PNM. Gavin Nicholas said he was going on his own. He wants to be the Prime Minister of Diego Martin. Louis Lee thinks that he's not contesting at all. And I told him that Louis is only going to contest elections that he knows or he thinks that he could win. The ILP is back to being Jack Warner's party now. So it showed itself right there and then that it became, I wasn't reading a crystal ball. This is how things work. If you are not all of the same ilk and all of the same ideas to how to fix the country and what you stand for, it's not going to last. It's not going to work. So we attended, but we politely declined. We said this is not something we would be interested in. And there were more phone calls. There were more conversations. Carolyn C. Prasad Bechan and Steve Alvarez, who ended up with some of what was left in an organization they tried to call Better United. But I was trying to explain to Carolyn C. Prasad Bechan that if you cannot field candidates, you don't have the moral high ground from which to dictate in which direction the movement goes. And they still don't get that. So they're still out there thinking that the pursuit of power is an end in and of itself. When to the Progressive Empowerment Party, our objective is a better Trinidad and Tobago. So if it's not going to happen organically and as it should, we're not going to be a part of marriages of convenience to get there.
Are you again a candidate in the Diego Martin West constituency?
No, between 2015 and now, I actually moved to Diego Martin Northeast. And the Progressive Empowerment Party has as a policy that candidates should come from the constituency in which they live. And but for two of our candidates, the majority are homegrown candidates. So, and the only reason we ended up with two not in their seats is because we had then multiple people from the same seats. and they were good candidates, so we had to utilize them elsewhere.
Sorry, Tony, go ahead.
Based on where you are currently as we speak, with just 3 weekends to go, is your strategy to get seats on the corridor? Or, I mean, you're putting out 28, but you may not, in a real sense, get 28. Are you in any way having a specific focus, or is it that you spread out 28 and you're going with that full shot?
Even for a clean sweep, we could get 0. It's up to Trinidad and Tobago. At the end of the day, we are all living in the same country. Whatever we tell ourselves politically doesn't change the fact of the reality of the country. And we all live in it, and we know, all of us know. The things we say, the things we support, the things we stand for and against, ultimately, doesn't change the reality of the country we live in. The Chamber of Commerce has come out and said that the two large parties, the PNM and the UNC, don't care about people, they don't care about business, they only care about raiding the treasury. So if Trinidadians are at the point where we're maturing enough to make a better choice or a different choice away from tribal voting, then the Progressive Empowerment Party has as good a chance as anybody. So we're not going to say that we're going to put our efforts here, there, or anywhere. Gail Castaneda in Port of Spain South is a powerful candidate. She was born in the house in Nelson Street in which she lives today. Our Laventille West candidate, Natalia Moore, is 19 years old. She's an activist. She's head of the youth arm of the Progressive Empowerment Party. She wants better for her community and her country. And we're going to put ourselves in a position to support all of our candidates and push as hard as we can from Oropouche West to Diego Martin Northeast.
Mr. Alexander, the whole talk of corruption and allegations of corruption back on the table, obviously because of the environment that we are operating in. And the Prime Minister spent considerable time on the weekend talking about the EMBD thing. You and your party have also been on the pathway of questioning spending and questioning contracts and so on. Is this more than just an election issue for you and the PDP, the PEP?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by more than an election issue. For all of my life, I have stood against corruption. The fact that I cannot sit well comfortably, despite my obvious attributes and abilities in either the PNM or the UNC, should tell you that corruption is something that I cannot involve myself in. We live in a Trinidad and Tobago where Johnny O'Halloran was allowed to live in his estate buildings in Toronto, which spent more to Trinidad money. Is obscene, is insane. If somebody should do a book, we should have a book just to have the list of everything, or as close to a complete list as possible. You, Tony Lee, and Dale, you all out there. So long, if anybody should write that book, it should be you all. We've lived a legacy of how to abuse and plunder a country. That's the true history of Trinidad and Tobago. How to take advantage of 1.4 million people, how to steal $3 trillion. Look around at this country. Everything that we had when we got independence is pretty much still the same Wassa, the same TNT, the same Carney, all that was there. We built a couple of buildings in Port of Spain, but where's our money? We were the third wealthiest nation in the Western world. That means after the United States and Canada, we had more money than Brazil and Argentina and Venezuela and Chile and all of them. Where's that money? Where is it?
So that, when I said an election issue, we're hearing from both sides, the PNM and the UNC, that, they're regurgitating a lot of these questionable contracts and transactions at election time. And that what the point I was making was that you and your party have been on that track for most of the last year from things that I've read, so that it's not an election issue for your party.
But it shouldn't be. But today when Sharon from your station messaged to remind me about this interview, and I was thinking to myself, who do you report these people to when the entire construct is corrupt? Who do you go and tell because the Integrity Commission can't do anything. I interviewed a former Prime Minister, and he admitted that it is itself set up to fail. It has no real functional purpose. It could make a report to a DPP that could decide to take action, could decide to go for a shark and make on Maracas Beach, and there's nobody to report him to. Our entire country is set up like children designed it, or corrupt people designed it so that they could get away with corruption. Both of you, again, I don't know what, I'm honored to be interviewed by you all. I've been listening to you all since I've been going to school, and I don't know what makes both of you get up in the morning and come and talk more of this. Again, why you're not frustrated and depressed, I don't know.
Sometimes we are, but sometimes we are.
Sometimes we are tired, Mr. Alexander.
But I want to thank you very much for talking with us this morning.
And best wishes.
And we wish
I appreciate all of that. Good luck to both of you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Phillip Alexander there, the Progressive Empowerment Party leader